I've talked before about how to talk your friends into watching your favorite anime when they're reluctant to do so, but it also bears addressing just why said friends might have missed the show in the first place. Now, if a show is older, they might just not have heard of it, but what about your favorite current anime? What causes situations where no one seems to be watching the shows you are and talking about them? It's frustrating when it happens, but if you have an idea of why, you might be able to get a start on drumming up the excitement you're looking for. And just in time for the start of the fall anime season, I've got some hypotheses. First off, a few shows have an obvious reason for their smaller viewer bases: less accessibility. While Crunchyroll and Funimation only paywall the most recent episodes of seasonal anime, both HIDIVE and Amazon Prime Video paywall all of their content. It's a little easier on HIDIVE as some of their shows are shared with other sources and most Sentai titles get physical releases too. But Amazon has a higher upfront cost, it never advertises its anime, very few of its titles are on physical, and the only shows it shares with anything else are the 2017 Sentai shows that are also on HIDIVE. Hence all the people this past summer asking why nobody's watching Vinland Saga when it's pretty obvious why nobody's watching Vinland Saga. But at least the shows on those services are actually available there legally when they air. That's not the case with what anime fandom has termed Netflix jail, where, with the exception of Violet Evergarden outside the US, nothing gets simulcast. It all gets dumped at once when the whole series is subbed and dubbed, and unless it's a show made for Netflix where the binge dump happens worldwide, that means Japan gets it weekly, but the rest of us have to wait. And once something gets out of Netflix jail, most of the time, the world has moved on. You might have just discovered a show on Netflix and started watching it, but all your friends who were interested when it aired in Japan and wrote it off to watch later are now watching the seasonal anime they can get now instead. Now with Carol and Tuesday, a lot of people did watch when it hit Netflix due to strong hype at the beginning of the season, the spring season being pretty bare anyway outside of Sarazanmai and Hitoribochi, and that hype getting renewed when the song Galactic Mermaid went viral halfway through the show. But most shows don't have that kind of perfect coincidence that makes viewers remember to watch them in a few months. Those aside, there were plenty of shows people do have widespread access to that they just don't watch, and one big complaint has been familiar to anime fans for decades. You sit them in front of a show and some people just can't get over how weird it is. Now, this may apply more to a neophyte who isn't familiar with anime tropes, and for that you just have to sigh and bear all the questions about what's with the art style or why the guy won't just pick one of these girls already. But it also applies to people who are used to anime. I got some friends to sit through one episode of Sarazanmai, a show whose storytelling, themes, and deep metaphor gripped me the whole way through and which I maintain is the anime of the year. These friends were calling for the brain bleach halfway through episode 1. They just couldn't get past all the buts. And then we get to genre bias. This plagued fans of sports anime for a long time, and shonen battle and adventure series got a lot of it too after the shininess of the mid-2000s anime boom wore off. Of course, now sports anime are huge, and the people who swore off those shonen battle and adventure anime are now gushing over at least 10 or 20 recent or current shows, all the while claiming that it's not like they like the genres or anything. No, now we have a backlash against the genres that were popular in the 90s. Mecha, monster adventure, non-ironic magical girl, and moody cyberpunk. Some shows do break out of this. In the first half of 2018, Darling in the Franxx was all anyone would talk about, but it's still a slog to try and get anyone to watch most of them. There are a few other reasons that could apply to the show you love. Maybe, like I mentioned in my Do You Love Your Mom video, a wide audience liked it at first, but then found it disappointed them. Maybe it has bad animation no one can get past. I mean, Tri-Nights kinda sucks, but I loved Cinderella 9 and that one also looked like garbage. Maybe the wider anime fandom is currently rolling its eyes at some aspect of the show, like being in full CG or based on a mobile gacha game, both of which drove eyes away from Fight League and Bang Dream. Or maybe the advertising just sucks. Netflix and Amazon, I'm looking at you again. Whatever the reason nobody's watching your anime, it's hard to deal with when it does happen. But once you've narrowed down the reason, you can try working on ways to get past it. If not for the whole world, then at least for the people around you. This is Secret Identity Studio, and now that it's over, please go watch GRANBELM.